All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is the last section in chapter 2. And then tomorrow you have a practice quiz on sections 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7. So yesterday, what we did was a good review over 2, 5, 2, 6. So if you felt comfortable with yesterday, I think you're gonna find those sections are tougher than what we do today. So what we're gonna talk about today is they're gonna, at the beginning, give us graphs, and we just have to look at the graph and tell what the x-intercept is and what the y-intercept is. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. And the way they do it, they could have you list it as a ordered pair. So this point right here is where it crosses the y-axis. They could have you list it, that point is 0, comma 6. Instead, what they do is they'll just have you list this number. They won't have you put it as an ordered pair. So the y-intercept would just be, not negative, it would be positive 6. Okay. And then same thing with the x-intercept. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. And when you do an x-intercept, again, they could have you write it as an ordered pair, and it wouldn't be wrong to do it that way. But the way that Code does it is they just list where it crosses on that x. Okay, so that would be 2. Remind me to switch your attendance during work time. Okay, so if we look at this, these are already graphed, and we just have to look where they cross the y-axis, where they cross the x-axis. So the x-intercept is going to be at 2. So that's all you would write. Ellie, did you know that you are excused at 8:30? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Ellie, I probably won't be done, so you'll want to watch the video, and then we have a worksheet today. So there is. All right. So when they ask us here to do the x-intercept, that's where it crosses the x-axis, and all you have to do is write 2. Okay. For the y-intercept, it's where it crosses the y-axis, which is here. So that's at -4. So that's all you have to do. So when they give us a graph, it's really easy. The x-intercept here, if you notice, it doesn't cross the x-axis. So we just say none. And then the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, and that's right here at 3. Now, you can have graphs that cross the x-intercept more than once. Like this one, this parabola crosses twice. You can have a graph that crosses the x-axis 4 or 5 times. So you just list each one. This one looks like it's at -3, halfway between -4 and -2. And this one looks like it's at 2. Okay. The y-intercept would be right here, and that looks like it's at -6. Okay. Now, if we look at this, we want to look at where does it cross the x? Well, it looks like it crosses the x and the y at the origin. So that means your x-intercept would be at 0 and your y-intercept would be at 0. And then here's one that is going to have 3 different x-intercepts. So this point right here, it looks like it's halfway between -4 and 4. So that would be -2. This one, it's probably hard to see on yours, but it looks like it's halfway between 0 and 2. So I'd say that's at 1. And then this one here looks halfway between 2 and 4. So that would be at 3. Okay. And then the y-intercept on this, you want to look at where this line crosses your y-axis, which I would say is right there at y = 6. Okay. So now we're going to look at what happens if they give us an equation and ask us to find the x-intercept or the y-intercept. Now, this is the rules for that. Do you guys have a cheat sheet for this? Oh, you have that transformation sheet. Do you want to write this on the back of that transformation sheet? Great. So when they give you an equation, first of all, f of x is the same thing as if it said y equals. Okay, it's the same exact thing. So when we are asked to find the x-intercept, what you're going to do is set y = 0. So basically put 0 in for y and solve for x. Okay. So what you're going to do is just replace y with 0 and solve for x, just like it was a normal algebra equation. So what we would do here is subtract 1, and we would get -1 equals -1/3 x. Okay. Now we have to get rid of that -1/3. And I don't know if you guys remember this from early on in algebra, but to get rid of a fraction in front of x, do you remember how you could multiply by its reciprocal? So you could take -1/3, and it's not the negative reciprocal, it's just the reciprocal. So if that's negative, your reciprocal would be negative, and it would be -3/1. And you would do that, which is just -3. You would do that on both sides. Now, when you do that, your -1s cancel, your 3s on the bottom cancel, and on the right, you're left with your x, and -3 times a -1 is 3. Okay. Then we have to find our y-intercept, and what that is, you're going to put 0 in for x and solve for y. So if we do that, if we write down y = -1/3 x plus 1, we're going to put 0 in for x and solve for y. So we'd get y = -1/3, x is 0 plus 1. And what happens here, this is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay. Now, if your line is in slope intercept form, do you get how this is my slope, this is my x, this would be my b? If it is in that form, y = mx plus b, your y-intercept is going to be whatever is at the end, but only if it's in slope intercept form. Okay, so my x-intercept is 3, my y-intercept is 1. Okay, so if we look at one more of these, do you think this is in slope intercept form? Right? Y equals, this would be your slope X. Do you get your Y intercept would be 7 then? So you could just go to that right away, okay? Because it's plus 7 on the end, that would tell you that. And then we're gonna find the X intercept by putting 0 in for Y and solving for X. So we're gonna put 0 in for Y and solve for X. We're gonna solve that just like a normal algebra equation. We're gonna subtract 7. And we'd get -7 equals -2x. Divide by -2. And x equals 7/2. And it would be positive. Or if you did that on your calculator, 7/2 is the same as 3.5. So either of those would be fine to put. Now, if you forgot that that's slope intercept form, if you did it the other way, what it was is we put 0 in for x. So it's -2 times 0 plus 7. And this would be 0 plus 7. So our y-intercept would be 7. Okay, so if you didn't realize that was in slope intercept form, you can put 0 in for x and solve for y. So far we learned two different things. If they were on the graph, that was pretty easy. We just looked where they crossed the axes. Then they gave us an equation and we had to find the x and y intercepts. Okay, now, let's have you take out your phones, and I think I deleted I'm gonna actually have you guys get this on your phone and your MacBook. In class, you can only use it, on your MacBook, but it might be nice to have a graphing calculator on your phone for at home. So what I'm gonna have you guys do is on an iPhone, search for Calculate X and download that. That would be a graphing calculator. On an Android, you want to search for this whole thing. So just go to your app store, and if you have an iPhone, Calculate X. If you have an Android, go to your app store. Are you guys able to find it? Okay. Yeah, let me see which one I have real quick, because I think I have one on mine. You have a iPhone. You see that too. It's yours. You see this one? The thing is this one. It has like a graphing calculator. What does it say? X84. So it actually is different now. It says graphing calculator. Say that again. You have this one too? Yeah. Okay. Have you all, was everybody able to find this one? Okay, so unfortunately in here, I can't have you use your phones for it, but I can have you get one on a MacBook and use that during class. And then on a test, like we have a quiz this Friday, I will have you guys use Mrs. Gearing's calculators. So you'll be able to use one during the test. I just can't let you on a MacBook during a test. So everybody able to find this? Okay. All right. So you'll have that there. And once you get used to using it, we'll do our MacBooks today. So I want to run you through how to get it on your MacBook. So when I do this, I just go to Google and I do MN. Think about this. So weird, I can't think of how I did this. So that you don't have to type that in. We are going to, let's see. Try MN test prep calculator. Like that on your MacBook. Okay. And then what's going to happen, and by the way, those of you that have a graphing calculator, you don't really need to do this because you can just use your graphing calculator. Yeah. Okay, then what we're going to do is go down to this very first one that says Minnesota standalone calculators. Okay. We're going to click on that. Then we're going to go down. So this would be if you guys were taking your MCA test in 11th grade, this would be where you'd get your calculator from. So we're going to go down to this bottom one that says grades 8 and 11 graphing calculators and click on that. And then what we're going to do is you have to hit start twice. So you're going to go start, start. And then up on this bottom toolbar here, there's a calculator and you're going to click on that. And then when this comes up, if you want to, this is if you ever want to clear your screen. If you didn't know this, there's a clear button that's 2 above the division sign. You can hit that. Another way you can always clear your screen is by going second mode. That will clear you too. If you're ever in a screen and you're like, I don't want to be in this screen anymore, I want to be back so I can actually use my calculator. If you go second mode, that'll get you out of there. Okay. So what we're going to use this for today is we are going to type some things into our calculator and we are going to use that calculator to find the x-intercept and if they ask us for the y-intercept. So leave that up on your MacBook if you don't have a graphing calculator, and we'll go back to that. Okay, so let's go to this page right here, okay? So what this is saying is if they give you a function, and this one is asking you for the roots or zeros. So in math, when you solve an equation, what you are, when you're solving for x, you are finding where it crosses the x-axis. That can be called an x-intercept, that can be called a root, or that can be called a zero. They all mean the same thing, okay? So when we do this, what we want to do is find where it crosses the x-axis. So first, I'm going to just sketch what this would look like on a graph, and then I'll show you how to do it on your calculator. So this is in y equals mx plus b form. So my slope is -3/4 and my y-intercept is -3. So if I had to graph that, I'd go down to my y-intercept, which is -3. I'd go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'd go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So my graph, and on this, you'd have to be kind of exact. So I'm going to go up 3, left 4. And that should show us where our graph is going to cross the x-axis. So if you had a ruler, this graph should cross the x-axis at -4. Okay, so our x-intercept or our root or our 0 all mean the same thing. Our answer is -4. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do that on a calculator. Okay, have you guys ever graphed on a graphing calculator so far in any of your classes? Freshman year, some of you maybe? Okay, so let's go to our, to here. All right, and I'm going to show you how to type it in, and I just have to remind myself what our function was. -3/4 x minus 3, okay? When you punch that in, let's see where I was here. When you punch in -3/4, we've talked about this, you're gonna go to your y1 equals. And by the way, if you have anything typed in any of those, you're gonna wanna go to it and hit clear. Does anyone have anything in any of the y1, y2 at this point? Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a parenthesis, negative. Now, on a graphing calculator, to do a negative, it's to the left of the enter key. So your negative is right here. Parenthesis, -3 divided by 4, parenthesis. And then it was x. X is right here. It's to the right of the green alpha. Okay, and then was it -4? -3, and then -3. Didn't I get the graph to go through -4 when I graphed it? Oh, that's my y-intercept. Okay, now. Oh, the x is to the right of the green alpha. Okay, so the negative key is to the left of your enter. The x is to the right of your green alpha. Now, what happens is you have to decide what y's do you want your graph to go from and what x's do you want your graph to go from. So if you go to this zoom key right here and you go to zoom 6, okay? Zoom and then go down to 6 and zoom, go down to this one that says the standard. You can either arrow down to it or you can just type in 6 and it'll do it. Okay, so this is our graph. And what we want to do is find out where it crosses the x-axis. So this is what we're going to do. Your calculator will do it for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit this second button and then trace. And you should get this. Okay, we'll be using this quite a bit this year. And what we want is the 0, which is the second one. You can either arrow down to the second one and hit enter, or you can just hit 2. And now this is kind of weird. You have this little flashing thing here. You have to use your arrows, the left and right arrows, and you need to move that arrow so that it is to the left of your x-intercept. Once you have that to the left of this, you hit enter. Then it asks us, where is the right bound? So what you're going to do is use your right key, move that so it's to the right of that x-intercept, hit enter. And now it's saying to guess what you think that point is. I never guess. I just hit enter again. And this is our answer for the x-intercept. It's -4, 0. So really what it is -4. Okay, so that's how you can do it on a graph or on a graphing calculator versus graphing. Versus you also could do this rule too. So when you have to do these today, you actually have three different options. You could graph it on graph paper. You could use this rule here to find the x-intercept, or you could use your graphing calculator. So that was -4. Now this next one is easier to type in. So let's go to this one. And when we do that, okay, when you go back to y equals, there's our line from before, and we don't want that on there. So we're gonna hit clear. And then we're gonna type in that function. And what was it again? Okay, so your negative again is to the left of the enter key. -6. X is to the right of the green alpha, plus 18. And then what I do, if it's an easy graph, I just, each time I hit zoom 6. Okay. This one, we can see where it crosses, so that's good. So what I would do then is I would go second trace down to number 2, so I can find the 0. Now, sometimes you're not sure where your flashing thing is. It's somewhere, we just don't quite know where. So what you can do is move this left and right until your little flashing thing comes down. If it didn't come down, then I would go and use my left mark. So now I am to the left of this point, so I hit enter. Then I keep going until I'm to the right of the x-intercept. I hit enter. When it says guess, I just hit enter again, and notice this is 30. Okay. If you like it on the graphing calculator, that's all you have to do. If you'd rather do graph paper, you can do that too. So this one, we ended up getting 3. Okay. But some kids might say, it's a lot easier to just put 0 in for y and solve for x. I'm just going to do it that way. I'm not going to use a calculator. I'm not going to use graph paper. So you get to choose which way you want to do it. So if we look at this, this is just showing different ways to do this. So if you guys were going to do this today, how many of you would just do it algebraically and put 0 in for y? Yeah, that's not a bad thing at all. So let's show you how to do that again, because this one's a little bit harder to do algebraically, okay? And I should have put 0 in for y. So what I'm going to do is add 2. And I would get 2 equals -5 x. Okay. Now, if you guys remember what I said, to get rid of a fraction in front of x, you multiply by the reciprocal of it, but you don't change the sign. So because that's negative, I still need it to be negative. So it's -8/5. Okay. And then when I do this, these are going to cancel. I have x on this side. And when you go to figure out what this is, you could just punch that in your calculator, or, you know, by going -8 divided by 5 in parentheses times 2. Okay, and what your calculator would do is give it to you in a decimal, which I believe would be 3.2. Okay. Otherwise, -8 times 2 is -16, so that's -16/5. So you could give it to me that way too, or -3.2. That would be my answer. Okay. Now this one is one that you can't really use graph paper for. Whenever it's not a whole number where it crosses through, you can't use graph paper because it's a decimal. You can't really do that. So if I did that on the graphing calculator instead, I would get I'd go to my y equals, I'd clear this. I'd go parenthesis, was it -8/5 or -5/8? -5/8 in parentheses. Then I'd go my x, then was it -2, thank you. And then if I hit graph, and I want to check where this point is, I would go second trace down to number 2 for the 0. I'd move that little flashing cursor to the left of that point. Then I'd move my cursor to the right of that point. It says guess, I can enter again, and it's -3.2. So sometimes if it's not a whole number, the graphing part does not work. Now, I want to show you how to enter something like this on a graphing calculator. So when you have two fractions like that, you're going to enter that as -5 divided by 4 in parentheses. Okay, just put that fraction as a division problem, then your x, and then plus, and then in parentheses again, 15 divided by 4. So that's how we type that into our calculator. So if I try to do that, I'd go to my y equals, I'd clear it, I'd go with parentheses, was it -5/4? So I put that as a division problem, and then I did do x, which is to the right of my alpha key, and then it was plus 15/4. Parenthesis 15 divided by 4 parenthesis. And if I do zoom 6, I need to find this point. So I'm going to go second calc down to number 2. Right now I am to the left of this point, so I can just hit enter. Then I'm going to move it. So it's to the right, hit enter. When it says guess, hit enter. And our answer is 3. Okay. So this one is 3. Now your assignment is going to be a worksheet. And there's one on the worksheet that I have to do with you because it goes off the graph if you're going to use graph or the graphing calculator. But I should tell you that. So if you're at home and you ever need a graphing calculator, well, one thing I should have told you guys is to bookmark that. You guys all know how to bookmark like that graphing calculator on your MacBook, just so you have that. Okay, if you guys want to look at number 20 on the back, let's go ahead and do that one. So number 20 is 5 ace x minus 10 equals 0. Okay, so there's 3 ways really you can do it. You could grab graph paper, it's actually up over there, and try to graph it and see if it goes through a whole number. If it does, perfect. You could put 0 in for x and solve, or I'm sorry, 0 in for y, which they already did, and just solve this for x. That would work. Or you could go to your graphing calculator. So let's do that and type that in. So if I do this and I go y equals, and I have to clear my line, I already did, I would go parenthesis 5 divided by 8 parenthesis x, and then subtract 10. And if we do zoom 6, notice we cannot tell where this graph is gonna touch this. Zoom 6 gives us axes that are from -10 to 10 on the Y and -10 to 10 on the X. Did you do parenthesis 5 parenthesis X minus or subtract 10? Got it. Okay, good. All right, so what happens here, and this is something you have to get used to because we do this all the time. To find out where this crosses, we need our X's to go bigger, okay, in the positive direction. How you do that on a graphing calculator is you go to your window. And right now, this is telling me that my X min, like if you think of an axis, X min over here starts at -10. X max over here only goes to 10. We need that second number down to be a bigger number. You can make it 20 and see if it works. You can make it 50, whatever you want to do. Let's try 30. Okay. Our y-axis seemed to be okay, but every once in a while you'd have to say, maybe you have to go more negative on the y or more positive on the y, and you have to switch these. The X scale, that means what do you want to count by? And we always leave that as ones, and the Y scale. And this X res, I never change. I always keep it as 1. So now that I've changed this, we don't hit zoom, we just hit graph, and we see, does it now hit the X axis? And it does. So then what I do is I do my second calc, go down to number 2. It is on the left of that point, so I hit enter. The next one is on the right now. I want to move that to. And then if I guess and just by hitting enter, that tells me what my answer is. And it's 16. Okay. So if I go back here, it is 16. When you do this worksheet, okay, the first 6 you have to look at the graphs, and those are pretty easy. The rest of this, regardless what, oh, actually, 10, I'm lying. 7 through 9 is where you're going to use those rules if you're looking for your x-intercept, set y equal to 0 and solve. And 10 through 12 are like that too. If you're looking for your x-intercept, set y equal to 0. If you're looking for your y, set x equal to 0. But from 13 to 21, you can do algebraically, or you can do it on your graphing calculator. Does that make sense? And I do have a key for this, so I will set that out.